what is called Ambazonia, that they, for the last 60 years, they have been longing to have their own land, their own country, their own independence, and they believe that they deserve as people to have their own. And therefore, it is this, in the series of the mission that we have had since 2016, we have been having these dialogues, and today they wanted to have a mass together with the priests and the rest of us to pray for the people, especially those who have lost their lives in South Cameroon, and to pray that one day something will happen. So this is a very significant day for them.
And with regards to the Bishops' Conference, that is the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Southern Africa, how did you come about engaging in this with this community here in South Africa? I understand that the Cameroonian community is quite big in South Africa.
They approached Southern African Catholic Bishops' Conference through our office of Dennis Haley Peace Institute to mediate for them and to mediate especially with the diplomats from other countries. So in 2016, we held a first dialogue where we invited the partners that we normally engage as a church in dealing with the diaspora people. This was continuation of what happened with South Sudan. The church was very instrumental. This is what happens with Congo. We have just now, our delegation was in Congo the other day, and so they approached us to say, can we mediate and lend us or give us a voice in the world to understand what is going on with South Cameroon. And so we did that in 2016, and since then we have been every year dealing with them and helping them to propagate their voice. We are now in partnership with the Faculty of Law in UNISA and Political Science, that they are also dealing with them and they are helping. So this is slowly taking a shape, and we are happy about that.
Thank you very much, Father.
Thank you.
I'm Johan Viljoen. I'm the director of Dennis Hurley Peace Institute, which is an agency of the Southern African Catholic Bishops' Conference, SACBC, that supports the church in countries outside South Africa, African countries outside South Africa, with programs that promote democracy, peace building, and human rights.
Now let's talk about this celebration. It is for the people of South Cameroon, which we hardly hear of, but we know of the situation in that side of Cameroon. We are aware of the societal ills that are taking place in that side. So talk to us about this day.
We've been working with the Southern Cameroonian leadership for quite a long time. It's a situation that, as you say, it is not really widely reported in the news, but recently, at the beginning of the year, just to give you an example, we had a look at UNHCR websites, and they said there's a total of about 20,000 refugees in refugee camps in Nigeria. Most recently, about 3 weeks ago, I checked on the website again, and the UNHCR is now speaking about 500,000 refugees in refugee camps and 700,000 internally displaced people. So we've seen the numbers increase from less than 50,000 to over 1.2 million just in the past 6 months. Now, what we've done here, as you see, we have the crew of Southern Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation, which is an online TV channel. People who are in Cameroon can pick it up on their cell phones and on their smartphones and watch it. And there has been a request from them for religious programming. A huge percentage, probably about 2/3 of them, are Roman Catholics. And we decided to, together with Sam Sawyer Center, to celebrate a mass that would be broadcast live on Southern Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation. So we had a small group here in the church today, but there were probably 500,000 out in Cameroon itself who were watching it. And we hope to continue with the spiritual accompaniment and the support for the people.
Right. Besides this day, what other programs do you have for the people of South Cameroon?
Well, at the moment, locally, we don't have too much here because it's the Department of Migrants and Refugees that are working with that. But we are working to strengthen programs, especially using the Southern Cameroon Broadcasting Corporation. We're going to start giving school education so that those children who are not at school can continue their education on the online platform of SCBC. That is our one major thing. And the other thing that we are working with them on is to try and raise international awareness. We had a press conference in Johannesburg in February this year. There were simultaneous press conferences in Berlin and Geneva. And the result of the press conference was that we are now looking at, in the very beginning stages, but we are looking at sending a fact-finding mission, which would include Catholic leaders as well, to southern Cameroon to do an on-site survey of what exactly the situation is. But we hope, as time goes by, to deepen our collaboration with them.
Thank you so much for your time and all of the best with your work.
Thank you, Sheila, and thank you, listeners.
Thank you so much for welcoming me on Radio Veritas. I am Patrick Ayok, and I am the director of the Sam Sawyer Center for Democracy and Human Rights.
Talk to us about the Sam Sawyer Democracy for Human Rights.
The Sam Sawyer Center actually was formed by a group of Southern Cameroonians who came together because they saw the brutality of the Cameroon government when it comes to human rights abuses. And Sam Sawyer is the name of one of the victims of the brutality of the regime. He was beheaded in live camera, and so we use the name Sam Sawyer as a symbol or a signal or a point of highlighting to the world the human rights abuses that are happening in that part of the world.
Not so long ago, I had a conversation with someone from Cameroon, obviously from North Cameroon, and I asked, what is exactly happening in Cameroon? And the answer was absolutely nothing. Everything is tranquil, everything is peaceful. It's just a handful of protesters that want to destabilize peace. What's your reaction to that?
I think that is quite a wrong impression, and this is actually being propagated by the government, who has a strong PR presence all over the world. And at a stand, like 2 days ago, there is a prison that was built in 1967 to accommodate about 1,500 prisoners. But these prisons today accommodates more than 10,000 Southern Cameroonian prisoners that were being arrested and sent to Yaoundé. And they were on protest 2 days ago because of the inhumane conditions that they are there. And one of the prisoners, like Pen Terence, was brutally beaten. T. Conrad also had a broken head. And there is Sisiku Ayoktabe and 10 other leaders that were abducted in Nigeria. They are also living under inhumane conditions in this prison. And the origin of the problem is that there are two Cameroons, two separate identities. Identities in the sense that they have different educational system, different tradition and customs, different legal system, different ways of living, livelihood, and the way they collaborate or work together, the way they live their life are quite different. And therefore, these Southern Cameroon people are fighting for the right to self-determination, which is a legitimate right that is even ordained by God. So they are saying that their struggle is a God-ordained struggle. It is not a few people, because there are more than 8 million people in this territory. And if there are 8 million people standing for their right to self-determination, it cannot be narrowed down to a few troublemakers. These are people that are fighting for their livelihood security.
So what stops the world at large to actually act, to talk about the situation in South Cameroon? Because like I mentioned earlier to the director of Dennis Hurley Institute, is that we hardly hear about the situation in Cameroon as a whole on primetime media. I mean, we often speak about this fine on the UN, for example, on Radio Veritas as well. But what's stopping the world to address the realities of South Cameroon?
What is actually stopping the world is the strength of a rogue regime a rogue regime that has a strong PRO present in the society is also a matter of biopolitics. Biopolitics in the sense that people put economic benefit first. Remember, this area is rich in resources, natural resources, and this area supply more than 60% of Cameroon GDP. And therefore, there is oil, gold, and all kind of resources, timber and agricultural resources like cocoa and coffee, that most of the colonial masters benefit. So it is a legitimate attempt to distract the world or not to show what is happening in the world. You could imagine that internet was being cut out from that part of the world for more than 3 months, but nobody knew in the world. That was a legitimate attempt to stop the world from covering the atrocities that are happening. So, but at the moment, you cannot hide the truth forever. Nothing can hide under the sun. The sun will always shine. So, that moment, European countries are talking. Swiss government wants to come in. German government just passed a resolution banning withdrawing its troops or military support to Cameroon. We also have the American government giving sanctions to the Cameroon regime. But now, what the problem we are facing is African media and African government. They need to start talking. They need to start showing it. And I must say thank you to Radio Veritas for this is the second time I'm on Radio Veritas articulating these issues, and we have to thank Radio Veritas for that. There are other platforms like Power FM or ENCA that started talking about the issues, but of course, the regime always finds ways to stop the world from covering these issues, and we must thank those few media houses that are talking to. We must also thank Dennis Howley Peace Institute because they have been a great partner. They have been fighting tooth and nail to make sure that our problems are heard. The world knows about the atrocities that are happening, so that humanity should take control over everything. And when humanity dominates, no amount of economic benefit will surpass humanity. So thank you so much for this platform.